your Ken, the Yosh King, bringing you on a safari. Yep, a safari. We're on the hunt for something amazing, extraordinary even. Yosh Ken, have you gone bananas? Why, yes, I have gone out for bananas. You guys catch on quick. We are heading in the banana cup, so I thought I might be prepared. We're on the hunt for the legendary golden banana, said to be in the banana cup. And the only person I know that's crazy for bananas than I am is my main monkey, Donkey Kong. Yeah, I know he's an ape, but monkey just sounds better. Come on, guys, you gotta admit that. Maybe not. Okay? Okay, let's get a move on. We're going through we have 4 tracks to run through to see if I find my banana. Yeah, I know, DK. Our banana. The 4 tracks that we'll be covering are Dry Desert, Donut Plains 3, Royal Raceway, and DK Jungle. One of these 4 tracks is said to hold the legendary banana, and we're gonna find it. Isn't that right, DK? Let the safari begin. Or I would say this if I didn't actually have to put this in. But before we begin our safari, and if you're going in search of those golden bananas, you need to be able to perform shortcuts. Now in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they implemented a system where you can actually have smart steering on, which allows you to stay on the course and not worry about falling off. Unfortunately, with having this on, you cannot perform most shortcuts. I won't say any, but it feels like any shortcuts. Any of the really useful shortcuts, really. So, I need you, if you're planning on using this guide effectively, to either press start and the L button. Press start and then press the L button. If you're picking your cart, press the plus or minus button, and then press the L button to turn off smart steering. When you play the game for the first time, this setting will be on. And I thought I would mention that just in case if you're wondering, Yoshkin, I'm not able to actually turn on these shortcuts. Well, that's the reason why. And that's the reason we're going after the golden banana. Alrighty, with that out the way, the first track starts us off in the sands of Dry Desert. Now, some of you may have not know this, but this track might be named after the setting where the second Star Spirit was held in the original Paper Mario. There's also another track that's possibly named after Paper Mario in Mario Kart Wii, and that track is named Dry Ruins. And it has falling pillars where you can get trick boost off of. Why am I mentioning this? Because they implemented this in the remake of this track. Now let's talk about shortcuts in. Oh boy! Is there a lot of shortcuts in this track? There are a total of 8. You heard that right. A total of 8 shortcuts. The first of which is right before the first turn. If you have a boost item, preferably a golden mushroom or a star, you can take this shortcut across the darkened parts of the sand and start into the S-turns. The S-turns hold a total of 3 shortcuts. They're a bit wide enough where you can actually use them effectively across there. And during laps 2 and 3, pillars will be falling on the shortcut area so you can get a trick boost after using a mushroom. The next shortcut is right after the S-turns. Towards the right, there's a bank of sand over there. If you have a mushroom, you can cut across that sand nice and smoothly. Now, this shortcut's a bit more tricky and a bit more daring, if you get what I mean. Now, rush down into that quicksand pit, avoiding the middle, and then start heading straight up. If you have a boost item, you can use it to get out of the quicksand pit, just narrowly avoiding the monster that's in that pit. And while you're boosting up, be sure to hop, because it keeps your momentum. While there isn't fire hopping in this game, hopping keeps your momentum from your boost. So if you're heading down path that has water in the reverse way, if you are hopping, you can keep some of that momentum you would get instead of being rushed down by the water, or in this case, the sand. The next shortcut, right before the oasis, just right of the item boxes, you can use a boost item to go straight into the oasis. Now this one isn't as well usable as all the other ones. I say the other ones have some pretty good uses, but this one is probably the one you would most likely not use unless you have mushroom and then another good item. And after you take that quick dip inside the oasis, towards the right you should see this hill of the sand. If you use a mushroom towards the right of it, you can go straight to the finish line. Now, let me explain this track, because out of most tracks in the game, this is one of few tracks where I think traction makes a difference, most of which has sand-like themes to them. Sand is important due to the fact that you feel like you have less control while you're driving on it, and that's not a good thing. This is especially noticeable in 200cc, where you're going like 100 miles per hour. In 200cc, there are a total of 4 shortcuts you can use without a boost item. But before we get into that little area, we're going to go and improve the first shortcut. The first shortcut can be used sooner than earlier. If you use it in between the last pillar, the last of the 3 pillars to the right, you can boost straight through it and onto the S-turns. Be sure, if you do only have 1 mushroom, to start hopping at the end so you'll keep some of that momentum. The 3 S-turns. Now that we're done explaining the first shortcut, the 3 S-turns can all be practically avoided without using a boost item. If you start hopping before you go onto the dark parts of the sand, you can have enough momentum to cross at least half of it and then hop across the other side. Now, remember those pillars from earlier? Because pillars fall on lap 2 and 3, you can boost across it, well, you can jump across the sand normally and get a trip boost off of it, which is very helpful because you don't have to do any of those turns on this very shifty sand. And the last shortcut that can be improved is the quicksand one. You can actually jump right before the quicksand ends straight into the pit, and don't worry about, say, going straight into the middle, because you will cross that boy if you're going fast enough, which, since I was DK and he's a heavy character, you should have no problem crossing it. And then, like before, just hop out of the pit and you'll be just fine. I believe this course is best with a kart due to the many straightaways, and in this track, almost all of the shortcuts benefits from straightaways. Say the S turns, you could just boost straight through them, and any turns you have to do, you can just go straight through them. Man, alright DK, I'm tired of this desert. Why don't we go to the plains? At least they should have donuts there. Despite being called Donut Plains 3, there are no donuts here. DK, how do you feel about this? Yeah, I know. We were really looking forward to a banana-flavored donut, weren't you? Well, we're gonna have to wait until we find that golden banana. Now on with the track. Since DK is a bit bummed that there are no donuts here in these plains, I'll explain the track. There are a total of 2 shortcuts in this track. The first is after passing the first bridge. If you use a boost item, you can cut across the gap in between the U-turn, between the second bridge and the first, to shave off a little bit of time. And the last shortcut is towards the end of the course. There are some blocks missing from a wall that you can use a boost item to use, to pass right through those blocks and straight on to the finish line. Now, I have a few tips for this track that I've thought of that I see a lot of people make mistakes with. 1. After passing the first set of item boxes, on the bridge, remember that there's water underneath. Remember that you can go in the water, because a lot of people, including me, like to throw green shells at people because they like to stay right on the bridge and you are a big target and a straightaway. Now, while this isn't really a shortcut I would per se, it is, but it kinda isn't, and that's why I didn't really include it. There's another opportunity to take a dip. After the second bridge, where with all the debris, if you make a hard U-turn towards the left in the water, and I mean a really hard U-turn, you can stay in the water and shave off some time and come out the water later. Now, I do not recommend this in normal races. There's a reason for this. First off, you skip the item boxes. This is the second and last item box in the course before you're able to go around to the first item box. In the game of Mario Kart, items are your best friend, and you certainly don't want to skip any items if possible. Reason number 2, this turn is hard as heck, man. And I wish I were joking about this, but it feels like you don't get much payoff for this. Just a slightly shorter time. Now, I will say in time trials this will be useful, but other than that, don't do it. Faster, but still no donuts. 200cc only gets rid of one shortcut slightly. While the first shortcut is still usable, I must warn you, since you're going so fast in this mode, that if you use a boost mushroom before you get on the grass, you'll be vaulted over it and you will lose some of your shortcut. So, be careful and use it when you're on the grass evenly to get the most out of your shortcut. The best way is to hop on the grass and then use your boost. Now, the last shortcut technically doesn't need a boost item, but it's better with one. You can hop over the grass, but you'll still lose some speed in the process. Just a bit though, so it won't really matter because you're taking out of that S-turn in the process. Another tip is if you know someone has a mushroom behind you, they can knock you into a wall. So if you're doing this, make sure no one behind you has a mushroom or a star so they won't knock you into the wall. Now this course, I recommend a Kart. There are a lot of straightaways despite the fact of having 3 U-turns in this course. You will still have a much easier time with a Kart. Alright DK, are you done being down about that donut yet? Good. I have a feeling that golden banana might be royalty, and I know of the perfect road to search for it at. Alright, let's go. Hey DK, I got some great news. I found a banana. But this one appears to be a royal banana and not a golden banana. Yeah, I know, but this means we're getting pretty close, right? Alright, well, the monkey shows off his moves with excitement from the great news. I'll explain this track. This track has a total of 2 great shortcuts and one that's not so great. I'll explain it when we get there, but the first shortcut is at the first turn. If you have a boost item, you can skip the first set of turns and get a great shortcut out of it. The next shortcut is on the second set of item boxes with the ramp. If you have a boost item, you can take the ramp and get an item, which is sweet, but you will not get a double block item, which isn't so sweet. Nice shortcut though. The last shortcut is at the end of the course, and it's not a great one, but I thought I'd mention it because now there's a tree where there used to not be one. And where the tree was there was a huge patch of grass there in Mario Kart 64, which made this an excellent shortcut, but they shortened this, so now it's not really a good shortcut. It's a good shortcut if you have a golden mushroom where you could just boost through anything, but other than that, it's not really too much of a shortcut in this game. A brief little history with this track is, back in the original version of Mario Kart 8, this is a track where you would practice fire hopping, but now you can't since it's not even in this game, so it's not really a useful tip, but it's more of a nice little throwback. And also a little bit of trivia is in the Japan release, at least in the original version, these used to be called Peach's Circuit. Now, onward to 200cc with the Royal Banana. There's only one shortcut that doesn't need a boost in this mode. It's the one with the ramp. The way you save most of the time by the shortcut is by hopping at the red and white edge of the ramp. Well, the little awning on the side of the course to the ramp, and you will lose virtually no speed. And if you, as soon as you land in 200cc, be sure you try drifting as fast as possible off the ramp, preferably in an inside drifting bike. This course is a bit different. I actually recommend kart and bike depending on which mode you're in. For 150cc, I recommend a kart because it feels more smooth. It feels like you'll get the most out of those straightaways. In 200cc, where you're moving 200 miles a minute, you're not gonna feel all of that. You're gonna feel, well, you're gonna feel like you're getting to the turns way too soon. And for that reason, I would recommend a bike for that. Due to that, even though this course is full of straightaways, it feels like most of these straightaways you're not gonna get much use out of them as you would. And for that reason, this one has a dual recommendation depending on the CC. Okay, DK, I have a feeling that we're probably not gonna find it, so I might as well start to drop you off at home. Maybe you can give me a tour of the place. Maybe we can actually find that golden banana there. I have to drop you off anyway, so why don't we end the safari? So let's bang some bongos in DK Jungle. Okay, DK, I brought you home. Why don't you show me around the place? Yeah, there's nothing like home sweet home. What's that? You have a tip for me while I'm here? Okay, tell them. Okay, I'll tell them. He says if you hit a DK barrel, you'll have a chance of an item dropping. Items such as a banana, which is around 20% chance. Mushroom, which I say would be 50% chance, and a star, which is very rare. I've seen one, if I'm not mistaken, pop out of it at around maybe 5%, and the rest being 0. Like, nothing will drop at all. Well, now that you're done with that barrel full of now that we're done with the barrel full of monkeys, now that we're done with that barrel full of monkeys, we can move on to the shortcut, or should I say a shortcut? If you can call it that, really. Alright. Okay, after the bridge, right as you turn left in the grass, there's a pillar. And the pillar has a glider section on it, so you can glide easily across the jumps into the next destination, into the Golden Temple. Wait, DK, why do you have a Golden Temple here? Oh crap! Hey DK, man, I found it! It's the Golden Banana! What do you mean you've already known that that's been here? You've known this for years? But you decided not to tell me? Screw you, man. It's because I didn't ask. That's the lamest excuse ever. Oh well. At least we found it at the end of our journey. This was actually a pretty fun safari anyway. Well, 200cc, Golden Banana, we're all good. So, in 200cc, that shortcut I feel is useful and not so at the same time. I feel that drifting around the shortcut feels like it's faster. I know it sounds crazy and all, but it does. It feels like you gain more speed by just being on the ground and drifting. With all that being said, DK, see you later. Thanks for this safari, man. It's been a real pleasure. And this is your kin, the Yoshkin. And I'll see you guys when we head to the stars in the Star Cup. See you guys Then,